Hola, WHODEY NATION en español. My name is Orson G, and I'm very happy to be here again with an old friend of the show. It's the third time he's back. Jay Morrison, now from Pro Football Network, is joining us to talk about these Bengals and what to expect for the next season that is already around the corner. Jay, it's great to have you here back in the show.
It's great to be back, Orson. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, of course, you know, people here in Mexico loves you, loves your reports, love everything that you're doing. And we're really, really happy to hear that the new Bengals beat is going to be back.
Yeah, so I joined Pro Football Network to cover the Bengals. I am the first person they've hired to cover a team on a beat basis. They have people that kind of do it with they might have one team they focus on, but they still would write other stuff. So a lot of what I do day to day is going to be the same as it was at the Athletic, where I'm going down to the stadium every day and I'm just focused on nothing but Bengals. But what you will see from me is going to be different. You know, at the Athletic, I might write a 2,000 word story every other day or every third day. Going to be a lot more content with Pro Football Network. It's going to be 3 or 4 stories per day. Shorter stories, just getting the news out quicker when there is breaking news, and then doing that much work will allow me to kind of dive into my passion of stats and trying to dig up stats and putting the numbers into context and making for an interesting story that way. But then I'll also have the ability to feature players and maybe do some one-on-ones with some players in the locker room. I'll be doing a lot more video. I know during training camp, I'll be doing a daily recap on video that will be posted with my story each day. So same office. I'm still going to Paycor Stadium every day, but what I produce is going to look and feel a little bit different, but I'm excited about it. I just, my main goal in trying to find what was next was to continue covering the Bengals and continue those relationships that I've built with the coaching staff and the front office and the players. And so I was thrilled that Pro Football Network gave me that opportunity.
And well, we just saw that you got to keep your regular cubicle, right?
Yes, that was great. I was a little worried about that because the Bengals beat has gotten so big that if I'm sure a lot of the people watching or listening aren't familiar with the layout in there, and there's I don't know, a dozen or so cubicles, but then there's a bunch of long tables in the middle of the room, and there were 2 guys that were there every day that didn't have a cubicle because they were newcomers on the beat. And I was just wondering if one of them was going to try to move into my cubicle after I left. And I asked them to hang on till training camp, see what happened. And then PJ Combs, the media director of the Bengals, sent me that video of him swapping out my name tag with the Athletic under it and then putting a new one in with Pro Football Network. So I'm in the same spot. I'll still be sitting next to Paul Daner Jr., who I worked with at the Athletic. I'm thrilled about that. Yeah. I hope I still get to sit next to him in the press box for games. But yeah, I don't have to move my desk or my office at all. It's going to feel just like old times when I walk back there for the first time next week.
And I think that's a great thing because a lot is going on. And of course, we're going to cover a few topics that the Latin American friends are really not concerned about, but would like to know about what's going on in the future for these Bengals. And for starters, would like from you your take on which unit might be getting waivers or free agency help in August, since the team, I don't know, maybe it's 99% done, but there's always a piece missing. What are you thinking about those waivers and free agencies still rounding up?
Yeah, I think they still need to add another tight end and a veteran. I think you will see them add Mitch Wilcox, who was on the team last year. He was rehabbing at an unfortunate time at the end of the year when he went into free agency, so he remains unsigned. I think once he gets a clean bill of health, we'll see the Bengals bring him back. I thought he played pretty well for Drew Sample after he went out for the year with the knee injury in week 2. Um, the roster currently is at 89. They're allowed to have 90. So you would think that they're holding that one spot open for a reason. Maybe it is Mitch Wilcox. Even if they sign him, I still think they need to go get a veteran guy that has been around and done it. I love the idea of Irv Smith. I think he's going to be a lot more dynamic than Hayden Hurst was. And Hayden Hurst was terrific. I mean, he was everything they could have hoped for when they signed him and more. But Irv Smith is a little younger, a little faster. Now, he may not be the blocker that Hayden Hurst was, but I think he can really create some damage in the middle of the field, up the seam. So that's going to be fun to watch how that opens the passing game and takes some of the pressure off of Jamar and T. Higgins. And are the teams not going to be able to play too high as much this year because you can't just worry about those two. You're going to have a lot of other weapons to worry about. And Irv Smith has an injury history, and it doesn't mean it's going to happen again. But, anytime that is an issue with a guy, you almost have to not expect it, but prepare for it if it happens again. And, if he were to go down, you're talking right now about Drew Sample and then Tanner Hudson, Devin Asiasi, guys that just have almost no experience in this league. And I even though they don't use the tight end as much as, say the Chiefs with Travis Kelce, and that it's still a big part of this offense. And that's not a position you want to be in to be stuck there if something happens and Irv goes down. The other one is the interior of the defensive line. I think they still need to get another inside pass rusher. The coaches are really high on Zach Carter. He was a 3rd-round pick last year. He played some inside, but he was mostly an edge rusher. And he was just, your head's swimming anyhow going from college to pros. And then he comes in and he's totally out physical because they move him inside where the bigger guys are. It's more of a power game in there than a speed game. So he had some growing pains as a rookie, but they love the way he's transformed his body, and they're expecting a lot from him to make that leap in year 2. And, maybe he can be BJ Hill's backup at that 3-tech position. But if not, or if something happens to BJ and then you need a backup for Zach Carter, there's still some guys out there that I think that, they're out there for a reason. They're on the wrong side of 30, or they're really close to 30. I don't think you would have to break the bank to bring a guy in like that. And I don't think a guy like that would be opposed to coming into this team and having a very good chance of winning a Super Bowl. So those are the 2 main positions, but I would also kind of keep an eye on a 3rd down running back because Joe Mixon's not good in pass protection, and Travion Williams hasn't really been asked to do it much. Maybe he is, maybe he's not, but he's a question mark at this point. Chris Evans hasn't showed he could do it, and Chase Brown's a rookie. So if there are some guys out there that could possibly come in and kind of fill that Samaje Perine role, I don't think that's as big of a need as getting a tight end or a defensive tackle, but it wouldn't surprise me if I saw them add to that room.
Absolutely. And I would also expect from another, maybe more experienced tight end. As you said, Wilcox was already around, knows the system, wouldn't struggle that much to learn the new aspects of the playbook that might be improved or shifted from last year to this year. And maybe it would be an option, but as well, we all know the history with Irv Smith, and you also wrote about it yesterday, knowing that, he missed the whole season in 2021, and he only attended a few games in the last season. So injuries are a concern there, and you have to have a backup plan.
Yeah, for sure. And, Mitch Wilcox he's very good on special teams. He's a good blocker. He's not going to give you the pass threat that you would lose with Irv Smith, but he would be a nice security blanket to have around. But I still think there's guys out there. I pointed out in that article, Cameron Brate, who's played his entire career for the Buccaneers, and he's been a very reliable receiver, and a guy that they haven't counted on a lot. A lot of times he was there with OJ Howard or with other tight ends. It was a 2 tight end situation, but rarely drops the ball. Finds a way to get open in the red zone, and if you lose Irv for a game or two, he could absolutely just step right in, and you wouldn't feel like you were missing too much of a beat. If you lose Irv for a longer period of time, I think you would see the drop off with Cameron Brate, but it wouldn't be as steep as it would be if you had to give full time to anybody that's currently on the roster.
Absolutely. And I think for the blocking part, I mean, Asiasi and Sample, they do a decent job, but maybe you need that dynamic part of the offense in which you can also have someone to catch a few passes that, well, they're not all going into the tight end's direction. Fortunately, Cincinnati has a really good wide receiver combo. But anyways, you always need to have that check down option in your tight end to get out of a difficult situation. You also talked about Joe Mixon and the whole RB's room. And I think that is also something that has maybe a question mark underlying, because as you said, the pass protection and that third opportunity runner is still a pending task, since we don't know how maybe Chase Brown is going to do it. And well, of course, Joe Mixon isn't really good at it. Maybe Trevayon Williams is your answer, but there's not anything really defined there.
No, Chase Brown could be the starter in week 1. They did bring Joe Mixon back. They asked him to take a pay cut, and he agreed to. I think he goes into camp obviously as the number 1 guy on the depth chart, but it's just one of those positions where age and wear and tear catches up to those guys sooner than it does other positions. And Joe's been around for a while. He's going into, what is this now, year number 7, and he's carried a lot of the load, and he still, you see that explosion from time to time, but you wonder with running backs, because it never seems like it looks like he's lost a step, or it's hasn't he. It's like a cliff where they're going along and then all of a sudden they're not, and so you just wonder when that's going to happen. And I'm not predicting it right away for Joe, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Chase Brown at some point take over that starting role this year. Now that's asking a lot for someone we haven't really seen do much, but just listening to the coaches and how high they are on him and his style, and watching some of his tape from Illinois, I don't think it's out of the question. But his playing time is going to be the same. It's going to come down to, can he stand in there and pick up a blitzing linebacker? It's not just third down anymore where you have to worry about pass protection, because the Bengals are passing on first down and they're passing on second down. And whenever he's in there, he's going to have to be able to do that. And that's why we've seen Chris Evans fall out of favor after a couple seasons. They were really high on him as a receiver, but he just hasn't been able to do the job in pass protection. And so there's a lot of that still to be kind of defined. Trevayon Williams is a willing pass protector. He's going to stick his nose in there and he's going to give full effort. But we just haven't seen him do it that much. So I think a lot of that's going to come down to the preseason games. And even then, you don't see teams blitzing a whole lot. But if the Bengals go with minimum protection and a guy does come and he's in there, they're absolutely going to be looking to see how he number 1 recognizes, and then number 2 executes any kind of block on a pass rusher.
Because for one thing, it is very hard to think that Cincinnati is adding another running back to the whole combination. But one argument that these 4 that we've talked about already are really relying on is their explosiveness. They're not as good in pass pro as they are explosive for escaping on a very good block. So I don't know if that tells us something about what the Bengals are planning to do next year.
Well, the explosiveness is nice and you want that, but that's not the primary focus of this coaching staff and what they want. They preach efficiency, and they're like, they don't care if you're not popping 20, 25, 30-yard runs. Just avoid the zeros and the ones and the minus ones. Hit the hole where you're supposed to get 3 yards, and you'll take Joe Burrow on 2nd and 7 all the time. I mean, 2nd and 7 is so much different than 2nd and 11, 2nd and 10. So that's the main thing they're looking for. Yes, they will welcome, make one guy miss and take it to the house. Those kind of explosive plays you do want to have in the run game, but that's not their number one focus. They want somebody that can hit the hole, get the minimum amount of yards, and then possibly make a guy miss or carry a guy for another 2-3 yards and turn a 3-yarder into a 5 or 6-yard gain.
Yeah, and talking about Joe Mixon and going maybe towards a more administrative focus. Well, this pay cut, it really tells a lot about what the Bengals are aiming, budget-wise for next seasons. And I think this is the first domino piece that needed to fall out in order for the other extensions to come in. What is your take on that? I mean, do you think we're maybe facing new announcements or on Joe Burrow's new agreement soon? Maybe T. Higgins or somebody else's?
Well, I think Burrow will happen first. I don't have any kind of news on when that might happen. I mean, I think as soon as you see Justin Herbert sign with the Chargers, you're probably going to see Joe sign shortly after that. Not that it has to be a template, but I just think he wants to let Herbert go first and guarantee that he'll be the highest paid player in the league this year. Okay. The Mixon thing, it's just it's not that they're saying they don't think he's worth the money. It's more that they see what has happened to this running back market, and there's just nobody's paying running backs now. So the Bengals have all the leverage. They can say, hey, you can take a $5 million pay cut this year, or you can go see what you can get elsewhere. And, even taking the pay cut that he's taken, I don't know that another team out there would have offered him what he's currently making after the reduction. So it made sense for him to stay. He likes it here. He even though he knew this pay cut was coming back in March, that he was in Cincinnati for all the voluntary workouts. So it just got finalized, but both sides knew this was coming. And yeah, we'll see what that extra, it's about $9.1 million, I think, is what they're getting in actual cash spending that they can use on other guys. And they already have $14.9 million under the cap. So this just, bumps that up closer to $20 million currently for this season. So that will kind of help with restructuring Burrow's deal. I don't think you're going to see, no matter how crazy that number is, $55 million a year, $60 million a year. It's not going to be that this year. It's going to be, he's going to get a lot of upfront guaranteed money in the form of a signing bonus. Then that's going to be spread out, and his actual cap hit this year will be a little more than what it originally would have been. It's not going to be crazy. He's still going to technically be on the rookie contract, which does free you up to get some of these other guys under contract. But with T. Higgins, I just keep going back to, the fans want him here, and even the front office might want him here. Does he want to be here? Not that he's unhappy here, but these guys are prideful, and they want to be the guy. As long as Jamar Chase is here, T. Higgins is never going to be the guy in Cincinnati. So, maybe he wants to go somewhere else, and the money might be similar, but he wants to go somewhere where he's the number one receiver on that team. So we'll see if the Bengals offer him something in the 25 million range, 3 years, 75 million, whatever it is. That's hard to turn down, but he absolutely could. And I put it in the 50% chance that they get him extended before the season starts. And I think Logan Wilson is kind of right about in that same range. We'll see where it goes. It could happen Joe Burrow one day and the T and Logan both the next day. That wouldn't surprise me, but neither would it surprise me if they extend Joe Burrow and then they don't get anything done for Logan or T.
Yeah, and of course, that's always a possibility. And money-wise, would you think that they are like mutually excluding one another, Logan's and T. Higgins deals, or do you think there's any chance or room for the both of them to be extended on the same period of time?
Yeah, I think there's room. I think it can be done. I don't know if it'd be the smartest thing to do because you're really going to be shortchanging yourself elsewhere. You know, the Jamar Chase extension's coming next year. It's almost like Jamar and T are the ones that you have to worry about canceling each other out. Is it wise to pay two wide receivers 25, at least 25 million a year? That's the real question they have to ask. If T signs, I think they could still get Logan done, and if T doesn't sign, then I think that increases the chance, obviously, that Logan signs.
Yeah, that's right. And well, talking about those receivers, everyone is seeing a more air game based Bengals for 2023. I don't know if you share that insight.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they throw it so much as it is. I don't know that that it will be more this year. They really found something last year and going to that shotgun run game, and if they can be even more than efficient in the run game, you might see some more of that. And uh, that's another way where if you've got teams sitting in too high shells, that's how you get them out of it. You run the ball up the middle and you force them to defend the middle of the field and bring some of those guys down into the box. And so Joe Burrow did a good job of figuring out how to beat too high last year, and they'll figure out ways to adapt to whatever teams are throwing at them this year. But with a two-headed monster like Chase Brown and Joe Mixon, maybe you do see him run the ball this year more than they have in the past. You also have an offensive line now with Orlando Brown. You had grinders in there that can just blow guys off the ball, and they're not doing the zone run so much. It's just that downhill ahead running, getting the guys started quick out of the shotgun. So if what we know from Zach Taylor is this is twice now that they've not been afraid to kind of rip up their running game mid-season. He did it in his first year when they were awful at 0-8, and then he did it last year, week 5 or 6 after that Baltimore game. So I we'll see if they can get that run game going early. I wouldn't be surprised if they stick with it and you actually see Joe Burrow's attempts go down this year and not up.
Yeah, lots of possibilities down there, and of course, everyone has expectations. And I think next camp is gonna tell us a lot about it. And before going into camp, what would you say is the biggest question mark regarding these Bengals facing almost the start of a new season? What would you say it's like this big question mark on the line?
I have two. I want to see how Jonah Williams is going to play at right tackle after they signed Orlando Brown in free agency and told Jonah he's moving from left to right, which he was not happy about. He showed up at mandatory minicamp and said he's not going to make a stink. He's going to be the best teammate and the best right tackle he can be, and he's been working hard to do it. And just because he wasn't happy about it doesn't mean he's not going to try his damnedest to be great at it. But it is. He's played it before, but it was early in college, so it's a change. It's something to get used to. So that's what I want to see how he does, and how Jackson Carman possibly pushes him at right tackle, because Jackson's really kind of grown up a little bit and shown some stuff. He played really well in that Buffalo playoff game. I still think Jonah's going to be the right tackle in week 1, but it is still a question of how he's going to handle that switch. And then the bigger question really is how quickly do those safeties get up to speed? And they're probably never, not even in week 18, they're not going to be on Von Bell and Jesse Bates level of understanding of each other and communication and that chemistry. It just took 3 years for those guys to build that. So it'd be foolish to think that Nick Scott and Dax Hill could do that right from the start, but they just can't. They can't have a lot of gaffes and a lot of blown assignments. They've got to get up to speed pretty quick, and don't don't measure yourself against Vaughn and Jesse. Just try to be the best duo you guys can be. And again, you've got a really explosive offense, so it's not going to be a backbreaker if you're giving up, some plays here or there. But you just don't want to see them get beat deep over the top, those long gains. That's what can really swing a game, obviously. So how do those guys do? And then in that vein, I mean, we're just kind of assuming they're the starters, but third round pick Jordan Battle, who's to say that maybe he can't beat out Nick Scott, who they signed from the Rams in free agency. He's played a lot of football at Alabama. He's a very intelligent, football savvy guy. So it's going to be fun to watch how Lou handles the reps in training camp, and what kind of packages he might have using all three of those safeties.
Yeah, because packages are also going to change in the defensive line when we see Miles Murphy maybe alternating, with Sam Hubbard on that left side. We don't know if we're going to see some NASCAR packages going around, and also the combinations of the whole perimeter with the corners are also going to suffer a few changes, with no Eli Apple anymore in the team, and Chido and Cam Taylor-Britt also, trying to play together, because, well, we all remember Taylor-Britt came along when Chido went out. So
yeah,
that's going to be also a new combination down there. So the whole perimeter is under, I don't know, maybe deeper analysis for the time being. Well, Jay, we really want to thank you for your time. And before leaving, we'd like to know how to contact you, how to follow you, where to find you.
Yeah, you can go to profootballnetwork.com, and there's a Bengals section on there. It's kind of like my old spot at The Athletic, where you can click on teams and you pick the team you want to read about. You call up the Bengals, all my stuff will be there. You can follow me on Twitter at @byjmorrison. And then you might even want to sign up for our Pro Football Network newsletter, because that way you don't have to go to the actual website every day and look for the stories. They'll be delivered straight to your inbox, and you'll have them every morning. So a lot of different ways to find the content. And like I said, we'll got some stuff coming in training camp. We'll have some daily videos recapping the day. If you don't want to read the whole article, you can watch maybe a 2-minute snippet and catch up on what happened on the day. So a lot of different coverage with the different outlet. I'm looking forward to getting started.
Well, for all those who got a little lost about finding Jay Morrison, well, you can find him, in the usual spots and the new spots. Well, Jay, we really want to thank you for your time. Like always, you're always willing to come into the show, and we really, really appreciate it. And please receive a warm welcome again from all the Latin American fans in WHODEY Nation Español. Thank you for your time, and see you again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thank you, Orson.